Jakey Eisenberg. It's Celtics Late Night. Welcome, everybody. The Celtics win. Never in doubt. Welcome, Jake. Welcome, everyone in the chat. Anyone who's hopped over there from the CLNS Garden Report. We're very thankful to have you. Jake, how's it going, man? Another Celtics win.
Mate, you just called me Jakey Eisenberg. That's a first, I think. All right.
I'm so hyped from the win. I mean, it was a butt-clenching game at times, let's be honest. It was not... I say never in doubt, but there was plenty of doubt at times. So I'm just happy that we won the game.
Again, I think it's so hard when you're a fan of your team to be objective when you're in the midst of a sphincter clenching game, a sphincter clenching experience. And I watch the Bucks go down 26 points to the Blazers or any of these teams, they go down first quarter, they're down 14, whatever. And then I'm like, they'll come back. I often live bet the big favorite. But when it's the Celtics and they come out like they've accidentally done heroin before the game, just whoops, they took the wrong drugs. They took the downers and not the uppers before the game started. And it's hard to not be like freaking out. But now I have about 2 hours of reflection. Mm-hmm. And once they kind of got back on track, it was just a slow burn. But eventually they just kind of wrestled them down and got almost a double-digit win in the end, which it did not feel like for a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, we'll get into it because I want to talk about the last 5 minutes of the game.
Absolutely.
And how they ramped up the defense. But it was one of the things that Joe talked about post-game was the many playoff shuffling of defensive looks that they that they threw. Yeah, straight into it, Josh. That they threw at the Cavs in this one. But first of all, if you're here as Jake cracks a beer, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the First of the Floor YouTube channel. We just hit 2.5K YouTube subscribers. It feels like we've worked for every individual subscriber. It's a real grind in this sort of oversaturated market of Celtics podcasting and streaming. So like the stream, subscribe to the channel, help us defeat the
overlords.
Algorithm overlords. That's right. But yeah, let's talk about this game a little more. So fourth quarter, and again, run sheetless here on Late Night. So we're just going to be all over the place. We're all over the road.
I got to be honest with you, Ben. I wrote down some notes.
What? That's forbidden. Forbidden. Jake.
I know. Rivens is on to me. He knows this is my second Cascade Lager. We had the playback stream earlier today. But yeah, man, let's talk about this team that's now 17-5.
Well, I mean, let's start with the fourth quarter. I mean, we could start with the awful start to the game. But
I'll say there's two options here, I feel.
Yeah, the fourth quarter was where the magic was made in this one. So 5 minutes to go, it's looking like it could be anyone's game. And to that point, Donovan Mitchell, particularly in the third quarter, and Darius Garland had been getting just the openness of looks, for lack of a better term, off screens. They were killing us off screens. And then we started to switch our pick and roll defense. We started to trap the pick and roll. We started to blitz the pick and roll. We started more switching and getting the ball out of the ball handlers' hands. And forcing them to default to other looks. And with that came stops. With that came transition looks for the Celtics. And that's essentially in that moment, I think, where the game was won. And yeah, you can talk about throughout the game, there was the Derek White three-point barrage in the second quarter. There was Jaylen in the first quarter. There was Porzingis waking up in the second half. But those defensive adjustments, and Joe referred to them as playoff-like adjustments, is really where the game, came away in favor of the Celtics.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another clutch win here. Yeah, potential assists is the buzz term of the day. But yeah, look, the Max Strus hits a 3 with about 7 minutes to go, and that ties the game at 104-104. Celtics go on an 11-2 run, 115-106, and that was the game. And that was a lot of getting to the line and Tatum mid-range. But these defensive adjustment, because you're right, the Celtics were really struggling navigating the screens of Jared Allen, which was a surprise to me. And I'm sure there were people that were yelling at Joe to go away from the drop defense, to do something, to switch. And eventually he did. He went to the blitzing, like not necessarily a full blitz. It was like a Porzingis hedge, use his length, make Donovan Mitchell and Garland kind of like take a dribble back, and then made them uncomfortable, made them pass the ball, and it completely worked. It completely got the Cavs out of their pull-up shooting. Garland was just walking into like 3 or 4 mid-range jumpers. And I don't know, I'll ask you, like, seeing it work late in the fourth quarter, I'm sure Joe was thinking about making that adjustment before that. But he waited until that moment. And I was just like, I wonder why he waited till that moment. And is it because if you go to the hedging in the third quarter or early fourth quarter, does Mitchell and Garland start to adjust and get comfortable too early? Then they figure it out. Whereas it's like, okay, we go to this drop defense. If they keep knocking down these like pull up, look, these are tough shots, and they were absurd. And I mean, some of them were easy, but man, Mitchell was like on another planet there for a second. But then bang, you hit him with the hedging, 5 to 7 minutes to go, and you really kind of junk up their offense, and that allows the Celtics to get those stops and get out and running.
Yeah, it was well timed. You know those like medieval war movies where they're like, hold, no! It was exactly like that. They just executed it at the perfect time with the battering ram defensively. But yeah, you're playing with fire with the drop coverage there, because those like pull-ups in those little pockets of space that drop defense allows, that's where the bread is buttered for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland there. So thank you. Yeah, people know. People in the chat know. I also want to say, people in the chat, first of all, we love all
Thank
of
you.
And
absolutely.
The channel. But people are talking shit about the Garden Report, and we love those guys. Like I guess our bosses in some way, in that they allow us to publish our show on their channel for the most part. So huge fans of those guys. So they can, as far as I'm concerned, they can talk about whatever they want for as long as they want. They're legends in my eyes.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, the timing of the defensive switch up was perfect. It puts into question, what does that look like as far as an adjustment for the next game? How do you? It's kind of a difficult question, and
sure,
we haven't had that much time to digest the game. But how do you see that changing up for the next game?
I think part of it depends on Mobley being available or not, because interestingly, while I think he's obviously makes them a better team, he makes them slightly easier to defend from a Celtics perspective. Appreciate that, Colin. Makes them easier to defend because he's another non-shooter. The way that they played today, right? Like every single player that they played is at least a threat to shoot it, except for Jared Allen, Strus, Dean Wade, insurance salesman out there, just getting it done. Mitchell, Garland, LeVert had a little run there for a moment. Thankfully, he didn't go full Celtics killer on us. Okoro has been shooting better, and then Niang. I guess technically Tristan Thompson played, but they're not playing double bigs. They're playing single big, either Allen and Tristan Thompson. Jesse, I know you're in the Jesse Almeida in the chat here. I know you were in the building. Celtics 11-0 at home in the Garden. You were part of it. You're part of the cauldron that is becoming TD Garden, which we love to see. But with Mobley not being out there, it does make them more difficult to defend, especially if Garland and Mitchell are going to be on with the pull-up 3 game, and you're kind of hesitant to leave Dean Wade or LeVert or Niang in the corners, as opposed to having another outlet. Like, you already have Jared Allen as a guy you can help off of. When you have Mobley out there as well, then it's another guy to help off of. On the other end, that's where it can be a problem, is that I didn't really feel like the Celtics had much of an issue getting clean looks when they actually ran their offense for the most part, and Mobley can make that difficult. But at the same time, the way the Celtics are playing teams that play drop coverage like this, they're just going to fire away. Like, they shot 44 threes tonight. And as we know, the Celtics are totally comfortable playing that style of offense. In fact, that's what they prefer to do. And so Mobley coming in, I actually don't think changes the way that they play offense that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, in theory, he would make it harder to attack the rim and to finish with great accuracy at the rim. And yet, you mentioned it, like, so both teams shot 47% of their shots in total from three in this game, and both teams shot 24% of their shots in total at the rim in this game. So the shot diet across the two teams is almost identical. And so, yeah, you bring in Mobley, and like if we're not really attacking the rim anyway, like surely we're not going to dial that up now that one of the league's better rim protectors is now back on the court. So offense wise, as far as the looks you're trying to generate, you almost go with the same method, I suppose. And really it's almost the timing of the defense and the looks that you throw at those, the pick and roll attack of the Cavs that probably has to change up. I don't know, like is there anything that maybe they didn't show Celtics defense wise in this game that you think they might bust out?
I
we
think
didn't
it's
see much of the full court press in this one. Would that even be
effective? We haven't seen a lot of that lately. It has been nice that we've actually got how many turnovers did the Cavs have today? 12 turnovers. Like we've actually turned them over, and we had 13 in the end. Actually,
I was going to say we must have had 12 in the first quarter. Right?
Yeah, I'm like considering far out. Like we had 4 only apparently in the fourth quarter. In the first quarter, I'm convinced that the turnover stats are fugazi. Like they do not tell the actual story of how sloppy they were in that first quarter. But yeah, the Celtics did a good job, especially early, with getting hands into like people right at the rim, and so that kind of like felt like that it kept them in the game. Mm-hmm. But no, the Celtics are just a handful to deal with on the other end for this specific Cavs team. So defensively, I actually think they can do a better job if Mobley plays, which it sounds like he probably will be back. Mm-hmm. But then I mentioned this in the playback, but we had Tony Pesta, a Cavs guy, on in the offseason, and he's now one of my followers on Twitter, and he's just like, the Celtics are just really hard to guard. Mm-hmm. There's just so much firepower on this team, and when you're in the trenches like we are with the Celtics, and we're living this existence of high expectations, like the highest expectations possible, and the highest expectations without a title in our back pocket. Like Nuggets fans have the expectations of this title, but they have one.
Monkey and the Warriors,
it's honestly, man, it's a tough existence every night. Like, you know, and people want to say
us personally.
Well, as a fan, I honestly think I honestly think, and people will say first world problems, and like obviously I'd much rather be the Boston Celtics that have won more playoff games than anyone really in the last 5 years, than the Detroit Pistons who have lost 20 games in a row with no expectations. But man, we've been through the wars and we don't have nothing to show for it, and it just makes it like difficult night to night to to reflect on how good this Celtics team is. I almost lost where I was going. I was like, where did I? But like Tony Pesta saying, like, this team is so hard to guard. They have so many threats. This team is really a handful to deal with for 48 minutes. It's just good to have that outsider's perspective on how dominant this team can be throughout stretches.
Yeah, to sort of bring you back to reality a little bit, because the weight, like there's this concept of the weight of great expectations, which is weighing on all of us as fans of this team all the time. Jake's showing off the beer.
Well, I would never, not Cascade Light, Cascade Draft to Mars 31.
I'm trying to be a healthy boy with my light beer here.
Well, you've got like a few extra years. The dad pod's just like creeping in slightly more.
It does creep up. Yep. Trying to get jacked for Vegas in 6 months. gotta look
Hell yeah.
at the Aria pool.
I did notice that Spoonie had come straight from the gym, so he's clearly getting ready for Vegas.
I was at the gym this morning. Yep, trying to.
Okay. There we go.
I'm just rehabbing an injury, so let's not glorify it too much. Okay, so looking at how else the game was won, and we do have some intel that Draymond Green has punched Yusuf Nurkic in the face. Has been ejected. Get to that. Hang around till the end, because once we get through all the Celtics stuff, we got to get to that, because that's maybe could be categorized in the Schadenfreude report, although we don't want to glorify someone just copping a punch in the face. But
he'll be okay. I saw it. He'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We talked about the screen defense, which was huge. We talked about like going to KP late. Did we talk about going to KP late, like offensively, and how that's a late stretch in the fourth? We started posting him up at the nail, and you went at Jarrett Allen a few times. wasn't a high success rate on that look, but on occasion we saw mismatches with KP and him posting up from like way further out than we're used to seeing. It was good to see them be like, doesn't matter. Just get him the ball, post him up. Doesn't matter where from. If there's a mismatch, like he's going to get a good look. And he did. And he went from no made field goal attempts in the first half to like quite effective in the second half.
Yeah, he was pretty good in the second half. He had...
Is that a hot take?
Yeah, he had 90. He had 0 points in the first half. We had 0 field goals made in the first half. Second half, 19, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 0 turnovers. Pretty good. The Bear Slayer, Latvian Moses, was out and about in the second half, and we were watching the game, and this played like so much fun, especially when watching it together with the first of the floor crew, because we all talk about the Celtics together, and we want the same things. And when it comes to clutch time, it just should be Porzingis in the action. It can be Tatum initiating. It can be Derek initiating. The list should stop right there in the crunch time. But Jaylen can be initiating, especially with the two-man game that he has with KP now. It just has to involve KP. The first thing they should do with 16, 17 seconds on the shot clock, put Porzingis in a pick and pop. We did not see the pick and roll, I'm guessing it's because Jared Allen is that good, kind of in that drop coverage, kind of defending the rim, and Porzingis really
into trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's do something that he's uncomfortable with, and Porzingis. Yeah, Brad. Look, you know what? Brad's my hero too, Julius. Absolutely.
He is my personal hero.
A lot of heroes on this team. But and we're yelling at the screen, like, bring Porzingis into the action. And you know what? We didn't have to yell again because they made it a conscious effort to bring him into the action. It didn't necessarily mean that it led to a wide open 3 every time. It just got the led to a couple of switches. And I think something that's been obvious in the first 2 games since Porzingis has come back has been how willing Tatum has been to go to Porzingis when he gets a switch, or just to feed him in the post. It felt like he wasn't really... I'm not want to say he wasn't trusting Porzingis on those looks, but maybe he didn't realize quite how dominant Porzingis could be in the post. And Tatum, I thought today, was very willing, same with the Knicks game, to feed Porzingis, mismatch or not, and Porzingis took advantage.
Yeah, number one point of emphasis from my perspective, we talk about it all the time on the podcast and in playback as well, is just like become more fluid at getting KP the ball like when he needs to get it, and in like somewhat close to his like shooting pocket as well, whether it's on the pop, whether it's on the roll, whether it's a post entry pass. It does feel like there's a delay. Yeah, it's still a delay in getting him the ball when he should be getting it. So there's a lot of season left. There's a lot of runway between now and the playoffs. There's a lot of room for improvement there and time to execute on that. But, watching from afar, in our case, very much from afar here in Australia, it's easy. It's easier said than done. And like, sure, defenses are marking up those passing lanes. And obviously one of their points of emphasis is to prevent KP from getting the ball in advantageous positions. We understand that. But at the same time, like, we need to be better at setting him up when he should be set up, I think is fair to say.
Yes, absolutely. And Derek W. Kim in the chat here, Tingus Pinkers still posts up way too high, needs to be deeper in the post. But whatever.
Today. That works today.
Yeah. But to be fair, this comment did end with but whatever because but whatever, he's scoring at an elite clip in the post. It does, but I do agree, like, you watch it and you're like, why is he posting up 16 feet away when it feels like he get just a few feet closer? But he is sneaky strong because he got Jared Allen and moved him a couple times today. He didn't finish every time in the post over Jared Allen, but I thought that he was quite physical with Jared Allen at times and found success there. Porzingis, I mean, I got a couple clips for Porzingis here. And just like, this guy's absurd. This play here is 7'3", pump fake, Allen closing out, drives the closeout, bang, step back right between the eyes. Like, what are we doing, dude? That should not be allowed. And then this is the Latvian Moses. Jared Allen and Garland go to Derek on the pick and pop, wide open at the top of the key from like 30 feet. And part of it is his range. He's so comfortable shooting from 27, 28 feet that these passes are easy to make, especially if you're perfect Derek White. But just those two plays really emphasize how violent of an offensive weapon he can be.
Yeah, we'll get to the like biological and molecular perfection that is Derek White. But you mentioned, I don't want to move past this point of Tatum sort of willingly getting the ball to Porzingis and JB doing the same thing. We've got a clip here of Joe Mazzulla talking about just that post.
Got some criticism recently for the 0 assists in back-to-back games. How much do you assess his play by the assist total? Like, does that kind
It's one of the most misleading stats of all time. You know why?
Why is that?
You know what has to happen for you to get an assist?
Made basket.
Yeah. So what we look at are potential assists. And so to me, it's one of the most misleading things to say a guy didn't get an assist. That doesn't mean he didn't pass. It doesn't mean he didn't make the right read. It just meant on his potential assist opportunities, those shots didn't go in. And I think that's what's important for our guys, what success looks like. Jaylen averaged like 5.5 potential assists in those 2 games. And in reality, we don't need him to average more potential assists. We need him to score. We need to put him in position to where he can get out in transition and run. He can get those easy baskets. He can get inside the paint. And so I make sure I talk to them about, 43 is whatever it was and 0 assists, but here are your potential assists, and here are the 2 or 3 possessions where you may have been able to take another play. But for this team, it's important that success isn't defined by stuff like that because it's misleading and it's not fair to them. And that's where tonight, for Jaylen, he's not going to get the credit for the couple of the big plays that he'll make. And for Jason, no one's going to be 25, 10, and 10.
I'm going to stop it there because I just realized we're totally doubling down on the Garden Report, guys. And some talk, I hear there was some talk of potential assists on the Garden Report tonight. So I don't want to double back too much on that. But, just Joe, I want to focus more on Joe's, defensiveness from, a good probing question by CLNS's own Bobby Manning there, and just the it's what any good boss or manager should do. Manager is probably the correct term. He gets paid less than the players, but standing up for his guys and standing up for the process and emphasizing the good in a public setting like that, I think is a really good. The Celtics have been really solid from an HR perspective since the Ime situation. Another way of looking at it, completely solid. I don't know. What do you think about
Clean HR. How many days without an HR incident? The Celtics are very diligent in going, we're at 50 days, no incidents in the HR department.
Love to see it.
I just don't get why people are so concerned about Jaylen Brown's assists. Really, Jaylen Porzingis' assists could not... obviously, I love it. Specifically Tatum, when he gets going from a playmaking perspective. I do think one day we're going to get, once the CBA kicks in and Supermax has come about, there's going to be a more Helio version of Tatum, and there's going to be a season, I hope, that he averages 7 assists. But Tatum, Jaylen, Porzingis are put on this planet to get buckets. Jaylen Brown, in particular, was put on this planet to get buckets and not some other stuff. 43 points and the whatever assist. Couldn't give 2 shits. I want him to make the right play and not force things into traffic, but I want him being aggressive. I want him getting downhill because that's what he's best at. He's best at scoring. That's the reason that's the reason he made All-NBA second team and has the richest contract in NBA history, is because we saw it down the stretch. You got Max Strus, and I'm saying, yep, take your time, back this small defender down. I know you have the 12-foot fadeaway in your bag, no issues, knocked it down.
Yeah, and by the way, he had the game icing shot with the turnaround fadeaway from the far baseline there, which was great to see. Little scary with the injury situation there, he came down on his toe.
Not for me.
Not for you. You're fine.
Well, to be fair, you're usually, we got 2 ends of the spectrum. Most worried with injuries has been Spoonie's right in the middle, and I'm usually the least worried.
Reckless, you could say.
I would say I'm confident in particular with certain players. Tatum, Jaylen, Derek, Drew. Drew, Randall tried to break his nose yesterday, and he was totally fine.
Sure.
And it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I was potentially convinced that Jaylen was just embarrassed about blowing the dunk, and so he kind of pretended he had an injury, and he started the second half totally fine and played quite well.
That was so brutal as well because that was such a good pass.
I know.
Pocket pass from JT. I always like those plays when they happen. I'm like, this is like JT on the podium at the Hall of Fame ceremony, and that's like one of the plays they run. This is where my mind immediately goes, like straight to the top. And it was such a clean pass. From, like JT is known for his scoring and defense, I think, for the most part. And playmaking is more of like an intimate level of knowledge that Celtics fans have with him also. And so that was just like a great pass on display. And for JB to screw up such a good look was, and potentially get injured at the end of it was like just maximum disappointment.
J to J stuff is the most arousing of all Celtics content out there, really. Like, Jaylen Brown, like when, especially a Tatum swat or a Jaylen swat into a Tatum to Jaylen alley-oop on the fast break. But you're right. For all the narratives about these guys can't play together, all of that comes together in these moments. And for that to not get converted to also lead to like, oh my God, is Jaylen Brown okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was a bit of a bummer because Jaylen's been averaging like 1.2 dunks per game. He's been money today. Actually, did he have a dunk today? I don't think he did.
He had a missed dunk. I think
had a missed dunk?
He did have a dunk. I wish I
Maybe?
knew where to.
I don't think he did.
Finish
I had
my NBA stats chatbot so I could pull it immediately.
But yeah, that was a beautiful play. Again, a potential assist. See that matters. that matters though. Tatum made an awesome read, and you love seeing Jaylen make that read. Just he'll finish that 99 times out of 100.
These jokes, they write themselves.
Yeah, the potential stuff. I think this is going to go on for a little while now.
Well, let's go to. You've got notes.
I've got notes.
What notes do you have?
I got some notes. This is how about the infusion of the insertion, I should say.
You talking about PP?
The insertion. I am indeed.
Yeah, I love that it's gotten to the point where you can just say the insertion, and I'm like, yes, I know exactly. I feel it. I feel the insertion.
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
He was, for those uninformed. Sorry, go ahead.
No, he was fantastic, and he goes 2 for 5 from 3. That's all we need. 2 for 5 from 3, as Ben's dog really agrees. He came in and was actually, I thought, the spark that like turned around this disaster of a first quarter. Like Hauser and Horford were solid, but Pritchard particularly came in. He missed his first 3, and I was having a bad time. But then he knocked down his next couple, and ends up 40% from 3 on the game. And hopefully Spoonie's mum isn't here for this part of the chat. But yeah, and so I can't believe Sam Hauser ended up 3 for 4 from 3. Like, my brain really didn't comprehend that. He
had some big shots in the third.
Yeah, because he
one in the first half.
I say he missed his first one, and apparently my brain was like, Hauser had a bad game, off shooting night for Hauser, which is obviously not. He was 75% from 3, which. Where is this guy's 3-point percentage going to end up? Like, we're already at 45, and it's gone up again. But Pritchard,
the comments are on fire right now.
Yeah, everybody in the chat, you guys are on it. And Pritchard, this is the type of game that we need from him 5 times in a season where the starters are going to have a rough go of it. And this team is more top heavy than some other teams, in the sense that the top 6 is the top 6 that everybody's talking about. And there's not necessarily like the Oklahoma City Thunder where you go 9, 10 deep, or the Pelicans where you go 9, 10, 11 deep, and you're like, okay, we should try this combination of players, and that might spark us. Like, I've had to catch myself a couple times this year being like, they should do, and I'm like, this is it. These guys pretty much have to fix it. Otherwise, then they're not. And that's partly because Pritchard hasn't had a lot of these moments. And I would say this is his second true sparking. I would say the Hornets game, which they ended up losing in overtime, but he was awesome in that game. And he's had some other games where he's been good, but I would say like true like flipping of the game and getting the Celtics like on a different track where they're headed a different way. Thought he was fantastic. And so, yeah.
Well, yeah, and like Drew Holiday just had such a terrible first quarter in particular. Him and KP, which we've touched on, just throwing just blatant passes to be picked off, and that became easy steals and turnovers. And we were saying in the playback stream, like, we need Peyton Pritchard to come in because he's our best point guard that isn't currently on the court. Derek White obviously being out there already, and that materialized, that manifested. He came out and he just was like more on his game, I suppose, than Drew Holiday to begin. And he came in and sort of just helped take control. And then, some of the ball handling goes back to Tatum when he comes back in for his second stint. And suddenly we're running pick and pop with Tatum and PP. And we're getting better looks. And we're, just combobulating the Cavs defense. And things started to fall the way of the Celtics. So even though we went down early, which it just felt like we just pissed down our leg there. It wasn't so much the Cavs. It was just giving them transition bucket after transition bucket for PP to come in and settle the show, or settle things down, rather. It does make you feel more confident about the bench going forward. And someone mentioned it in the comments earlier, but like the bench plus minus was like well and truly leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the team. And we haven't even really talked about Al Horford. Like this is the kind of Al Horford game where like the floor for Horford is just to come in and be solid and like not really be seen nor heard, but just be a solid contributor off the bench, along with fortunately PP and Drew on this one. Yeah,
truly. I mean, Horford goes 1 for 3, but it's just like he is always making the right play, and so like it's just so hard to ever be critical of Horford. Not that I'm obviously not looking for a reason to be critical of Horford, but it's like if he doesn't hit shots, he doesn't hit shots. That's just the nature of orange ball basketball. Sometimes, when you throw a ball from far away into a tiny hole, sometimes it doesn't go in. And so, but for a guy to just come in and play the right way every single night and defend his ass off and switch, that's all you can really ask for. But this team, and once Pritchard and Hauser get going today, like they did flip the game tonight. And once Pritchard gets going, which we all believe he will. It's just frustrating in real time when it's not consistent. But someone in the chat here, where is Lamar? You and me, big Lamar guys coming in here to the season, and we've essentially not seen him at all in any real minutes. And tonight, right, like we're struggling with drop. Joe, we think, is saving the hedge for late in the game. Could another move have been play instead of Luke Cornett, which not the best Luke Cornett game against a matchup where not only are they good at hitting pull-ups, they're cooking with the pull-ups. Do you go to Lamar at the 5? Because we saw it at the preseason. Lamar at the 5, and you just switch everything. And I'm like, and you that's not going to be a Pritchard lineup. It's going to be, basically all tall guys. Horford, Lamar, Tatum, Drew, whatever. And you switch everything, and you're not, orange ball, man.
High praise. Yeah.
And you just switch everything. And because are you worried about Jared Allen posting up and going out of their offense on any of these guys? And if he makes like tough these little hook shots over some guys, and he makes them a bunch, and you just go away from it again, but. That is something that I'm just surprised we haven't seen, because he's a legitimately good defender, and we just have not seen them use his versatility at all.
Yeah, well, and the Cavs have guys that we can help off of as well. Particularly if they've got Mobley back and he's spaced in the corner, like that's another person that we can help off of. He's like a very remarkably terrible 3-point shooter. So I don't know, maybe we see Lamar in this game too against the Cavs in this regular season playoff series as part of the minor adjustments that happen. We've got a few people calling for a break in the chat. I think I saw Heisenberg being like, I need a coffee.
Yeah, man.
We don't need to do an ad read on this one because it's not a sponsored show. This isn't going up on any podcast feeds or anything. But I will run this clip from Derek White talking about we can. If you guys are interested in FanDuel, we can run the ad read. I do have a clip of Derek White talking about the Celtics' perfect home record.
Derek, on Friday, you guys went to 10-0 at home, and I asked Joe about it, and he said he had no answer for why you guys are so good at home cooking right now. You're 11-0 at home. Derek, why are the Celtics so good at home this season?
We got the best fans in the league. Pretty simple.
Boom!
Hell yeah!
I love
Let's
like
go.
Cam Tabatabai is I like him. He's a good reporter,
Yeah,
good guy, has a good
absolutely.
podcast, the Celtics Lab podcast, and asked a relatively thoughtful question. And Derek White just mic dropped him.
Derek White's he's just gonna do what Derek White does, and why give when the shortest point is the best journey, then why not just take the path of least resistance? And is he not
Called out, Jake. The people know you.
Look, it's a beautiful shiny head. I mean, do they not have the best fans in the NBA? And it's been more confounding that they have not been excellent at home over the last season. And the best teams in the league are dominant at home. And when you have a dominant home record, you end up getting a top seed, and that carries into the playoffs. And historically, that leads to playoff series wins, which is what we're trying to do. And is it also shameless pandering? You're damn right. And Derek White?
There's no shame in that. There's no
Absolutely.
shame.
Yeah, no. Exactly. Perfect. I want more of it.
Derek White was so good again in this game. It felt like whenever a timely bucket, a timely play, a timely defensive maneuver was needed, it was Derek White coming through. I mentioned his 3-point barrage in the second quarter.
Hot hands. Hot hands was back.
He was just great. He's just solid. He's just solid. Like we expect, I said this on the pod yesterday, we expect perfection from the team, and they're inherently not perfect. Derek White might actually just be perfect through and through.
Crazy, Dan. Crazy. For his role, it's just literally the perfect. Hang on, this is just beer too. Don't tempt me though. It is Wednesday. It is Wednesday. What day is it? Wednesday night. Why not? But yeah, man, Derek White again. When they really needed it, and for a team that's outside of Hauser, really, who's been the most reliable guy on big catch and shoot threes? It's Derek White, and it's not close. He might even be at the top of the list just because of how clutch his threes have been. The Raptors game comes to mind, the most recent one in Toronto in-season tournament game. Celtics, back and forth, and he just hits the last play of the game.
Yeah.
Put them up 2.
Yeah, even in this one, I think early. I was going to not to go back to the Jaylen potential assists conversation, but like Jaylen, he's trying. Jaylen is trying with
absolutely.
the playmaking, and one of the first plays that he made was a kick out to Derek White, and it might have been the only 3 that he missed. It was or the only corner 3 that he missed. But other than that, it was complete perfection from Derek White.
He just doesn't have Jaylen just doesn't have the catch and shoot badge or whatever. Like when you're playing 2K, it's like when this player passes it to players, they hit shots at a higher rate. And Jaylen Brown doesn't have that thing. I think part of it is like his passes are not as accurate as some other players' passes. Like I would say,
I think
Jaylen's
that's a
not
fair criticism.
Yeah, quite hitting guys right in the shooting pocket all the time. But look at this beautiful scoring diverse across the roster.
Can you see this? I want to highlight this. How many blocks did we have in this game? How many blocks?
9.
That's a high amount of blocks. Block City in this one. I don't know, like just the distribution of blocks across the team. I'd be curious to know how many of those came late, but I don't seem to be able to filter this by quarter yet.
I can. What do you want to? What do you want me to do? Fourth
not
quarter
that,
blocks.
Not that the best part about defense late was the blocks. It was more just like being solid, defending the pick and roll. But
I have bad news for you, Ben.
None of. I'm
0
trying to formulate
blocks.
a narrative here, Jake.
0 blocks. 0 blocks in the fourth quarter.
All right.
3 in the third though. Maybe you just blurred the fourth and the third quarters together in your mind there.
But how many potential assists did Jaylen Brown have in the fourth quarter?
Now this is your fault. Now this is your fault.
Standings, obviously, 17 and
Yes.
17 and 5 is a
Pretty good.
sexy record. Let's just call it for what it is. And we're now back tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who lost yesterday, I believe, tied for the best record in the league. Although I believe that Jason Tatum did call the Celtics the best team in the league in his post-game interview. I do have a clip here from Jason Tatum talking post game.
Joe talks a lot to us, at least, about how success can look differently on different nights. For you, as you've matured in the league, like, have you looked at things differently, like how you can impact a game? Were you thinking more about scoring earlier on? Is it now different? Like, how has that kind of evolved for you as you've grown in the league?
Yeah, Joe often challenges me to just dominate the game, right? And I understand the dynamic of our team and just how talented we are offensively. And, myself, from JB, D. White, KP, Drew, Al, everybody has to sacrifice. I'm certain that, none of us are averaging career highs in points, right? They all have taken a dip, but, it's for the better of the team. Our success as a unit is more important, and we understand that. We know what the ultimate goal is, and human nature plays a part. It's not easy, right? You're accustomed to playing a certain way, scoring a certain amount of points per game, and you kind of have to empathize for every guy, right? That is not easy, but we're winning, and we know we're going to need everybody, to achieve our.
I think we get it. The sacrifices are being made. Watching that, for me, like the first thing that stands out is just like how much more thoughtful Tatum is, still only at 25 in his responses. Like, if you think about where he started with his canned responses, even like 2 years ago, he actually like considers his responses and tries to give reporters like useful answers for writing their pieces post game.
My takeaway from that is something we spoke about on the last podcast, is how early it is in the season, how there have been big changes, and how there are still people going through growing pains. And I would say I've been as critical of Tatum as I've ever been this season. And tonight, I thought he was good. I thought, again, was frustrating at times. And part of it for me is because I know how dominant he can be from the tip, 48 minutes. And even tonight, right? Like, he played 40 minutes. He played the entire third quarter. He played 40 minutes tonight. Like, he is Mr. Celtics now. He just gives this team everything that he has. And sometimes maybe the mentality is a little bit off here and there, but he turns up every single night and wants to win. And sometimes he's not maybe emotionally the way that people want him to be, but I think he's having a bit of an adjustment too.
Oh yeah.
And trying to pick his spots. And from that, it sounds like he wants to take a little bit of a step back and make sure that everybody that is sacrificing is still feeling like they're getting theirs. And like in the Knicks game, he didn't really do. He had a couple of really nice passes, but didn't get up a lot of shots, which I think is very common, and I think really speaks to where he's at with the team this year. He's always been a kind of a slow starter, but I think in particular this year, it's like, okay, let the talent first quarter. Jaylen always goes off. Let's get KP going, and then when I need to, second half, fourth quarter, that's when I start to dominate, take over the game. The only problem I have with that is that, like, I feel like he needs to get a little bit more of a rhythm sometimes so that he's ready to take over.
Yeah, that's fair. It does feel more controlled though. Like you mentioned the slow starts. It does feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm seeing this through rose-colored glasses, but it's more him like picking his spots and his time in the game to assert himself, rather than just like an inability to affect the game. And like with a team built like this with this much talent, such a luxury to hear your 25-year-old all NBA first team like superstar talk about how, yeah, like no one is going to get career highs in anything, and we're cool with that because we understand the makeup of the team and how we're built and what the approach is and what the end goal is. And yeah, maybe I'm putting some words in his mouth and embellishing what he was saying, but that, for the most part, like that's the takeaway, and the maturity for that to be your approach, given, I'm sure the temptation to just like dominate from a box score perspective is there. this guy grew up idolizing Kobe Bryant, for
Yeah.
fuck's sake. Like, he wants to get his, and yet he understands at 25 years old. I say that with such emphasis because I remember what I was like at 25 years old. Like, fucking 30 years old. Like,
Yeah.
it's not common to be that mature at 25. So, props to him. And clearly, if Tatum, the leader, is feeling this way and, making those sacrifices willingly, like, surely that is cascading down through the rest of the team as well. So that might be one of the most important factors as far as like how this team looks come postseason.
Yeah, part of it's like it's obviously frustrating, and like the box score 7 for 19 tonight. It's pretty rough, but he got downhill pretty well. It's just a couple of these 3-pointers per game. It's just they just don't need to be taken. But
I still think it's coasting.
Yeah, I think that's. I agree, and you can tell by the response. It feels like he's coasting, and then you can just tell when he's not by the way that he's approaching the game from start to finish. It's just, I said this last podcast. I think he can be better at coasting. Like LeBron James is so good at coasting. I just think that Tatum could be better at coasting. It's like be dominant in shorter spurts, like really take over, really go at certain times, and again like. I just don't think it's fair to even ask Tatum to even be figuring out how to coast. And it's just insane that he's able to coast and be 25, 10, 5, 2 blocks. And all of this comes from how good he is and how ridiculous the standards are for like what he's set for himself and for everybody else. Yeah, you should have got that one. Come on, that's Jordan Crawford, Ben's idol. It's there he is. It's a great background today. Yeah, you'd never know that that background doesn't look like that, but it's perfect.
Who knows? Maybe I've formulated my perfect room, and I'm streaming from inside of it right now. How could you possibly tell? Yeah. Well, first of all, folks in the chat, we love all your comments. We love reading them. We love putting them up on screen. We love the engagement. Let us know what you think. Because the goings on around Jason Tatum are and remain to be and will continue to be the most important thing for the Celtics. So then maybe offshoot of that is like what's going on with Kristaps Porzingis, like health wise, and how we're finding him and stuff like that. So curious to hear people's thoughts on if you agree with our take on the approach of Jason Tatum, if he is coasting, if his understanding of the sacrifices and his acceptance of the sacrifices is kind of like giving you championship vibes, for lack of a better term.
I just think that talking about a bunch of the stuff here is just like the team is 17-5, and it just feels like they're still leaving so much on the table, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
and
it's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, like again, what was even the score tonight? 120 to 113. Like offense was popping tonight, and the defense. I would say 2 games in a row now. The defense actually hasn't been awesome. I thought they struggled in the Knicks game quite a fair bit, and then tonight again. But our biggest concern for the past 2+ weeks has been the offense. And my biggest concern for this team broadly is the offense, because I know this team's proven it to me already, really, that like when they need to defend, they can clamp down late, especially like late in this game, like not going to certain adjustments, certain times. Joe's been good, man. I really think he's done a few different things this year, and this the fact that he's willing to try stuff and get creative and make certain decisions in certain moments. I like it.
What do you think of this? Dave D in the chat.
Yeah.
Tatum has always given me too cool for school vibes, and like I'll add just for context, he also said I wish Tatum would play with more fire. Even at 17-5, it feels like to me they're getting by on talent. I mean, they are a very, very talented team. They got to get by on something. Yes, they should play more consistently, more fluid, fundamentally sound basketball, but they also have the luxury of getting by on talent, and to a certain degree I think you can't fault them for that. I don't know.
He
too
just
apologetic?
As far as demeanor wise, I understand it. Like he is very chill. He's very laid back, and that's just the type of guy that he is. But if you just kind of like zoom out and be objective about it, it's like a guy that plays every single night, is one of the best defenders in the league at his position, even if that it has waned a little bit in the last week or so. Like when it's playoffs, when it's a big game, he defends his ass off. He leads the team in rebounding back-to-back years on a team that really needs defensive rebounding. And like that stuff points to how much he cares way more than like the way that he kind of acts on the court. And like there are other guys. I do think it's pretty fair and easy to be like, he should just drive more. He should drive more. And that's the one criticism I think that's absolutely fair and something that I think will come eventually. Like watching LeBron in the IST final and throughout this run here, he's always been like this, but like, especially now he's so big, he just gets downhill and he's just like, people are going to get out of my way and they can't stop me. Tatum's going to keep getting bigger and stronger. He still is like shedding the mentality of like, I was this really skinny kid for my whole life really, and contact was kind of an issue at times. And so the bully ball Tatum is there, but it's still not like, it's not his muscle memory. His muscle memory is not bully ball. His muscle memory is like dribble, Kobe, fadeaway, step back. And I think we will get there eventually, but like for now, it's just not quite that like aggressive downhill every night. I'm driving 20 times a game.
Mm-hmm. What do you think was more important in this one, or more enjoyable? Because I think more important is an obvious answer. More enjoyable. 26 to 26 from the free throw line.
Oh,
and
yeah,
in
finally.
the playback room where like this, we often come up with like things to discuss during free throws to unjinx the likelihood of the shot to go down. And in this one, we were talking about favorite beers, local beers, international beers, and we just kept hammering the beer talk, and the free throws continued to go down. And I refuse to believe anything other than us being completely responsible for that being the case. So a perfect from the line for the first time in what feels like forever. So that or
On volume,
yes, thank you. Or Jaylen Brown hitting the game-clinching-ish shot over Max Strus and then giving him the too small
in
in front of the Cavs bench. Also extremely enjoyable.
It's hard because I think you're choosing between cocaine and MDMA here. I feel you're like the Jaylen Brown. The Jaylen Brown is the quick, just condensed. Oh yeah, we did it. But the free throws was just a long, sustained, good time. And on a team that's actually like really frustrated me from the free throw line this year, where Jason Tatum's free throw percentage has dropped down to 79.9%, which is just not okay. It's not okay. He's been 85% free throw shooter for 6+ years. Should not be at 79%. And now, yeah, that's it.
Keep going.
This is Celtics late night indeed. And he may have honestly brought his free throw percentage back up. Yeah, I'm not going to dive too back into my recommendations here. But
the recommendations now?
But like he goes 9 for 9 from the line finally, and like he's missed a bunch of key free throws in a bunch of close games this year, and for him to go 9 for 9, I thought it made me very happy, but it made me happy from minute 1 to minute 48. So I'm gonna take free throws. Take free throws.
I think that's fair. Like, not to dive too far back into that analogy, but it feels like the more responsible usage of whatever substance. In that, you maybe wake up the next day still feeling like pretty good. You can go to work.
Sure.
The free throws feel like the more wholesome, responsible takeaway there. So, I don't know. I've got a screen share up here. I kind of want to because I haven't seen it yet. I want to get to this Draymond situation. I've got the tweet here. Here we go. Can you guys see this? Okay, let me see if I can full screen it and we'll just play it.
Here we go.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear it.
It's classic, dude.
Whoa!
What the hell, dude?
Oh, sorry, I got to see this again.
Go again.
What? Okay, there is no defense for that.
What is
zero defense?
I get so I'm trying to get in Draymond Green's head here and be like, because I believe that he believes that he didn't try and punch Nurkic in the face. Like what I think that he believes is that he tried to when someone's got your arm, you like you swing your arm to get off me. That's what he thinks that he did. But that's not what happened at all. He swung his arm blindly behind him. It's like he was going to punch something. There was a 0% chance he was going to punch nothing. And he just like went full I'm punching something mode. And he also went up into the 7-foot dude's face. It's like, what is happening to this guy?
I love
like
that, man.
he was always a psycho, and like it's gotten much worse. Like, and it would never. I'm not sure he'll ever be able to top punching Jordan Poole in the face. That video like is honestly disturbing. Like Jordan Poole would weigh 30 kilos less or 50 pounds less than Draymond Green. Leader, emotional, spiritual leader on this team. One of the kings of the dynasty, and punches one of these young players, like sucker punches him, and then he chokes Rudy Gobert. I'll go back. I'm assuming they'll replay from far away.
This is from
But,
NBA Reddit.
He chokes Rudy Gobert not 2 weeks ago, after being ejected not 2 games before that. This guy is on. Oh, he's like, he was grabbing me. It's like, dude.
You just punch
What are
him
you
in the
talking
face,
about?
man? There's no other way to slice it. And like, I love that. Like, Draymond, there's 100% chance I'm not punching someone green.
Also,
I take away from that. Like,
he's
you're gonna hit someone if you maneuver your body like that and you swing
Oh.
up. Like, it's one thing to swing into the
Yeah.
body. Wait, can we go back on that? Yeah, here we go.
Can we get research on this? Come on, NBC Sports Boston. Like, oh, dude, that's a serious swing.
That's a concussion.
And good thing Nurkic is a giant Bosnian monster and was able to take it on there.
He's like more.
And the fact that Draymond's like, he grabbed my hip. One, if he did grab your hip, not an appropriate response in the slightest. Secondly, he like kind of grabbed your hip, which happens on every single play on any kind of post up or any kind of defense like that. It's
Dude,
prediction?
I mean,
Prediction? Suspension? So
yeah,
he got
let's talk
he
about
got he got 5 for the choking of Gobert.
but there's a cumulative effect.
That's what I'm
to these
saying.
Things. Yeah.
So 10? It's not going to be 10, I don't think. But it could be 10.
It could be 10. It could be 10. If you
That's
factor
pretty
in all the context, all the background, the history, the like his reaction to it where he was like not apologetic.
Yeah, that's the
despite
thing.
everything. Like have some self-awareness in
Yeah,
the
dude.
moment. So I mean, why is it
10 feel-
important to the Celtics? Who do we play soon? One of our first games
True.
on a big road trip? Could he be suspended for it?
Ooh, interesting. Actually, let's play this game. Warriors schedule. Because it's minimum 5. Firstly, they lost this game to a Beal played today. Actually, it's a 5-point game with 1 minute to go. Almost over. So 1, 2, 3. It's 3 games before we play the Warriors. Absolutely, he will not be playing against us. No chance.
Yeah, seems like a minimum 3 games.
3 games, no chance. If he got 5 for choking Gobert, it would be a minimum 5. I feel like 5's the minimum.
All the Americans watching, which is, I'm sure most of you are seeing the Australian.
Yeah, look at the
times
time here.
We've got the 2 p.m. game here against the Warriors.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, late night actually starts to become late night on these games. We'll
Yeah, I know.
the good news is that the Garden Report guys, it's very late for them, so they start to drift a little bit. It's like I can have my dinner at a normal time.
Close game here, by the way, between the Suns and the Warriors.
Yeah,
Still going. So yeah, I mean, surely there's no Draymond for this upcoming stretch.
Absolutely
And then
not.
If we get back to the Celtics schedule, I guess as
Yeah.
we start to wrap
the schedule's
up here.
tough.
Yeah, but that so we need all the lucky breaks that we can get.
Absolutely.
And with Draymond out, that's our first game of that road trip. And then
Yep.
Kings, tough team. Tough
Back
team
to
the
back.
Kings. Yeah, but we have historically been very good against the Kings in the last couple
Correct.
of years.
Yeah,
Clippers
they,
are sort of finding themselves, I think,
yeah.
a little bit. And then the Lakers on Christmas Day with the whistle. We talked about it on the podcast, the whistle that LeBron is going to get. That's going to be a tough game. And then, thank God, finally, we come back home and we play the motherfucking Detroit Pistons.
Are
We need that
you? You're not stressing about that one at all. The
No.
Pistons who play us tough.
How could anybody? It's not the same. It's not your slightly older brother's Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, no, this is actually impacts the Celtics quite a lot. Yeah, 2 p.m. Is very tough for you, Thai Coffee. That's in the it's too hard zone. I think in anything that starts in the 2 to 4 a.m., that's the worst watching window.
I'll
1
get
a.m.
up at 4:30 for a game.
Yeah.
I won't get up any earlier than that.
I get up at 3 a.m. for the first 3 weeks of the NFL season, but it's only because I know it's only 3 weeks. I'm like, I'll just do the first 3, but then it moves to 4 and then 5 a.m. But Draymond, I really appreciate this because they've been struggling, and this is just not going to help. This is just a fracturing.
No, it is not.
Fracturing of the team. And they gave him this big extension too. You got to be sick of it at this point. If you're Steph Curry, man,
yeah,
how you already cost the highest price you can pay. You cost them a title. The 2015-16 championship, the Warriors win that if Draymond Green does not punch LeBron in the dick.
Oh yeah, for sure. And now this, but they were
And,
already struggling anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've already been suspended for 5 games, and now you're going to miss another 5 minimum. I'm going to be pissed off if it's.
Here we go. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying because the only way that he plays is if this is a 2-game suspension. No, 3-game. There's no chance it's a 3-game suspension.
Yeah, well, okay. So we've got from Woj that, as my slow Australian internet loads while I'm also streaming, Draymond Green will have to await a league office review and the possibility of another suspension. The probability of another suspension. Let's be completely honest here, Jake.
Yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, this is gonna be good because we get to wake up to news the way that the time difference works. It's ooh, the worst case is when Robert Williams limps off the court after a Timberwolves game, and we have to go to sleep wondering, and we wake up and we're peeking through our hands to look at our phone to see what the news is on the Rob Williams MRI. This is the opposite. This is how long is Draymond Green suspended for? Because you never want to see anyone get injured, but it's human nature to be one of your rivals is going to miss the game that you're playing and their best player's out. It's objectively good for your team. This is you could just root for the worst possible outcome. I hope he's suspended for the season. Get him out of here.
It's Schadenfreude all day.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
It's not the Sixers, but you know what we're getting at.
It is too bad though that we don't this is just more fuel on the fire of the Warriors draft pick that we did own briefly.
That's true, but we used it for good, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, we used it for Drew Holiday. So
I'm still in the camp that Drew is good.
I too think that Drew is good. No, this is, again, the perfect scenario was supposed to be we would have Porzingis, the Golden State Warriors pick, and another first-round pick, and Marcus Smart. That would have been, and technically Rob Williams, but I'm just assuming he would have been injured. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, man, no one's on his side anymore. No one, except for his teammates and coaches who kind of have to defend him. But even last time, Steve Kerr was this was obviously over the top. We have eyes, and you can't defend this stuff.
Yeah, and Steve Kerr, he's a cognizant fellow. He speaks out on social issues, and as anyone with a platform should. So you know that he's a thoughtful guy who is going to have logical and reasonable opinions on these matters. So
did you see the because they lost to the Suns a week or two ago, and he was trying to in the post-game press conference, and he was what is going on in these arenas? It's these club music. It's a South Beach club. No one can hear each other. What? This is a basketball game. And then the in-stadium DJ remixed Steve Kerr's soundbite into it's a South Beach club, and then just hitting heavy bangers using Steve Kerr's voice. I was that's great call, Mary Poppins. The fact that Tatum and we both just clicked on that one.
Whoops.
Both the Tatum and the Jaylen ejections are both terrible. Tatum's slightly more deserved. The Jaylen one was absolutely egregious, outrageous. Aussie feel. Couldn't agree more. Fuck the Sixers.
Yep.
But yeah, like
and forever.
this is great. This is a great little bit of fun. I only have
Schadenfreude in a while, Jake.
yeah.
You guys will have to hit it on the. So maybe we can end with talking about
Yeah.
like what's coming up. So and talking about the Schadenfreude and not being able to run that podcast segment. excuse me. Much lately, you guys are going to have to hit this on tomorrow's show, and that's what's coming up next for us. I suppose is live on this channel. So subscribe if you're not already, and make sure you like this stream. Spoonie and Jake are going to be back with a podcast live tomorrow. I'm guessing 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time there. Talking about the game tonight, talking about the Draymond situation, talking about whatever news emerges between now and then. What else is coming up, Jake? I know you've got some playback streams coming up.
Yeah, well, we did the inaugural playback Celtics blog partnership today, and a bunch of you were in there today. Really appreciate it. Hanging with the First of the Floor crew. Honestly, like, without the First of the Floor audience there, it would have been a bare cupboard in that room today. So, like, honestly, felt really good from our perspective to have all you guys in there and help get this thing off the ground. And so we'll be doing the podcast tomorrow, me and Spoonie. We'll kind of dive in. If there's anything in particular you want us to dive into, like, let us know in the comments right now. But I want to dive into the crunch time possessions because I thought they did a really good job with that yesterday. And then we will be doing playback again for the second Cavs game, but this time we'll be doing it'll be two other Celtics blog creators because I know Ben and Spoonie aren't able to make that one, but it's going to be a bit of a rotating talent pool. I'm going to be on most of them, but for the next Cavs game, we'll be doing playback again. Hopefully everybody's there. It's just so much fun to watch the game with people and the chat, like with all of our inside jokes from First of the Floor and that kind of stuff. Like, this is the best time.
Yeah, like this whole thing, the purpose, I think for us, like the number one primary thing is like it's an outlet for like all the Celtics feelings bubbling up inside of us. And the possibly the best outlet for that is like just interacting with listeners and the engagement with the audience there as well as just doing the podcast itself. So the other thing we did, we just set up a Discord server earlier today. We've still got to get in there and customize it and make it ready for all of you to join it. But sort of unsure. We're sort of wading into unknown territory as far as like the value of setting up a Discord server. I think for me, part of it is like Twitter and Reddit can be kind of brutal. And anytime you tweet out or post a take, you do so at the risk of like the entire internet taking you down. And we've seen it recently. We had like some clip about Jaylen Brown playing his best basketball ever. In certain facets, it was like put forward very softly, and the internet just like completely tore it down. And so, yes, we want like a Discord server where we can talk about segments for the pod. We can talk about games. We can talk about anything Celtics or whatever else, but also, I guess, like a safe space to get those takes out on the Celtics that you might not feel like are properly sanitized for the broader internet. So let us know your thoughts either now in the chat or if you're watching this later, because we're just kind of doing some preliminary research as to like how we can launch that, how that might work for us, and whether it be a benefit to us and you guys as well. So I don't know. I think that's it, Jake. Anything else coming up?
Yeah, I know. It just sounds like Ben really needs a safe space.
Yeah, it's for me personally. Yes, it's for my takes that aren't internet ready. Absolutely.
Yeah. I really want it set up because I want these takes too.
Yeah, well, we're in Slack. You guys hear my inner monologue at all times.
It's true. It's true. No, man, awesome. Pleasure hanging with everybody for a long time today, as per usual.
Yeah, this was fun. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. We will see you on this channel again live tomorrow, 8 p.m. East. Until then, go Celtics.